Lions. Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed. He scores! Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
Let's hope Dylan Larkin and Team USA can advance after today. Welcome, everybody. On a Wednesday, it is X's and Bros throughout the state of Michigan, and we're brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth. I'm Matt Shepard. Top-ranked Michigan left no doubt in beating Purdue in West Lafayette. One of the most impressive wins of any college basketball team this year. 91-80 was the final. Wolverines put 6 in double figures. They were led by Elliot Keju's 17. Morris Johnson boasted a double-double with 12 points and 10 rebounds. U of M shot 53%, had 24 assists on 30 field goals made. That is an amazing statistic. They've won 21 games by double digits. They've won 11 consecutive games. They're 6-0 against ranked teams. They are 25-1 on the year. And I read something this morning that says they have the highest rating in Ken Palm rating history of any college basketball team. That's how good this team is. When you go into Mackey and you leave no doubt, there's nobody who left that arena in West Lafayette, Indiana last night saying, we should have won. We could have won. If only this, fill in the blank. Michigan was dominant. You don't expect teams to go undefeated, so that's okay. They are the best team in America. They should be the odds-on favorite to win the national championship. I don't care what happens in the Big Ten tournament. They're going to win the Big Ten regular season. And you and I have said this for a long time. That's the most important one. What you do in your full season resume, for a full regular season resume, is better than a short clip at a destination site, Indianapolis, Chicago, wherever it may be. So really impressed with Michigan last night. Here's what they've done against ranked teams. Are you ready? Because I said they're 6-0 against ranked teams. They beat Auburn by 30. They beat Gonzaga by 40. They beat USC by 30. They beat Michigan State by 12 at Michigan State. They beat Nebraska by 3 and didn't look great doing it. And they beat Purdue last night by 11. That's pretty damn good. Now, Nebraska, a little different story. That was a home game. A lot of people feel like that was one of, if not their worst games of the year, maybe Northwestern. They had to come from behind to do it. Personally, I like seeing teams tested and proving to win in different ways. It's interesting. If we see a team, pick your favorite team, Pistons, whatever. If they start blowing teams out on a regular basis, the Lions a couple of years ago, they blow teams out on a regular basis. When the playoffs begin, your concern universally is they haven't really been tested. You want your team to be tested and see what it's like because you figure they're going to take on tougher competition moving forward. It's a fair assessment. If your team wins a few games by coming back, there's a universal thought that, well, you get in deep holes early on. Okay? If it's a pattern, it's one thing. If it's just once in a while, I would guess those things are going to happen during a 33-plus game schedule, right? If you don't come back from winning those games, you don't know what it takes to win down the stretch. If you do come back, you shouldn't have gotten in the hole in the first place. I look at the final result, first and foremost. And second of all, I see how they got there. I don't expect them to lead wire to wire, any team, wire to wire, every single night. I'm okay with having to come from behind. I'm okay with a team that digs itself a hole, but understands what it takes to dig itself out of it. So what Michigan has done this year is one of the more impressive seasons I can recall of any team. Michigan State finds itself last night. This was impressive. They blow out UCLA 82-59. They, too, shot 53%. They won the Battle of the Glass by 10. Cohen Carr and Jeremy Fears set the pace with 16 each. Fears added 10 assists, the national leader in assists. And the Spartans improved to 21-5. As we talked with Chris Solari yesterday, I understand you want your team to win a Big Ten title. You want to win a national championship. You want to beat your rivals. All those things on your checklist. It's not a grocery list. 21-5 is a pretty damn good record right now. What you're hoping for is, how is this team playing? As we said yesterday, if you can get back to your bigs contributing, Carr did last night. Jackson Kohler was a point away from a double-double. If you can take care of the basketball a little bit, but more importantly, can you defend like we are used to seeing Michigan State teams defend in the past? That's really important. That is their calling card. And last night, they did that for the most part. 37% UCLA shot. That's it. They only made 8 of 25 from deep. And they only got to the line 12 times. Those are important numbers. I know we can't read everything into numbers, but those are glaring. And those are recipes for success for Michigan State as long as their offense is clicking. And I think last night, I think it's fair to say, and Tom Izzo went deep into his bench, I think it's fair to say his offense was clicking. Nobody went crazy with a bunch of shots. Sure, Fears and Carr each had 11 attempts, but that's because they were making them for the most part. Fears made 3 triples in the first half. Carr went 7 for 11 from the floor. But you had Jordan Scott come in. He made, of his 4 makes, he took 5 shots, made 4 of them. 3 of them were from deep. So it's a good win to get to 11-4 in conference play. They're not winning the Big Ten, and that's fine. But what they are doing is they take this type of basketball into the next game against Ohio State, and you kind of parlay that through, then you're in pretty good shape, okay? In fact, with UCLA losing, the 4 Big Ten teams from the West Coast, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, and USC, are a combined 6-19 in Big Ten games this season outside their time zone. They leave their time zone, and they're 6-19. That's tough. That's a tough way to go about trying to win a conference title. Iowa, by the way, upset 9th-ranked Nebraska by 5. Ohio State pounded number 24 Wisconsin by 17. That's what this conference is. You and I have watched it for decades, and we still can't seem to grasp it. A quick time out here on X's and Bros. Plenty to discuss regarding college basketball, NFL, and a whole lot more. Glad you're with us on a Wednesday on X's and Bros, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples, money saved. Meijer Essential Paper Towels, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Huge here for the annual Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game, which is coming up on Friday, March 13th at Van Andel Arena in downtown GR. It's a night dedicated to supporting research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's at Van Andel Institute. The Griffins will be taking on the Milwaukee Admirals in special purple jerseys, and you'll have a chance to bid on a limited edition purple jersey of your own after the game. It's a night you won't want to miss. Learn more about the Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game at vai.org/events and also at griffinshockey.com.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
It was amazing. The atmosphere in here is crazy. My first time in Mackey was a very fun first time. But I just want to give credit to the teammates that I got here for having my back, man. From the beginning, I was super nervous, shaking up about everything that was going on. But man, they had my back from the beginning, and everybody was reassuring me that they're with me.
That is Yaxel Langenborg for Michigan last night. He is sure. Yeah, I mean, he was viewed as public enemy number one. And you can understand why when he said what he said, did what he did 4 months ago. You know, I know there's a lot of people who feel like, it just happened. It didn't just happen. Anyway, bottom line is he came out there and he helped Michigan to the win at Mackey. He had 13 points. He had 7 boards. He had a couple of blocks. He had a steal. It's an intimidating place. He didn't do it by himself. Everybody was introduced. Starting lineups are introduced as always. And when he was introduced, it was a massive, almost as one boo fest. And if I were a student at Purdue, I would do the same thing. I'm not one of those guys who likes to boo people, but I would do the same thing. It didn't help because Michigan blew out Purdue 91-80. And when you have the lead, 84% of the time in a game, I think it's pretty clear who the better team was, right? Unfortunately, for us as college basketball fans, you're not going to see them play again unless it's perhaps the Big Ten tournament. That's part of what I don't like about some of these Big Ten schedules or conference schedules or college basketball schedules. I'd like to see you play home and homes with teams. For me, Michigan State is an absolute must. You don't mess around with that. I think Purdue, Indiana is an absolute must. I think Minnesota, Wisconsin is an absolute must. I think that's fine, okay? Michigan having to play Maryland twice, I don't care. Having to play UCLA twice, so what? USC, so what? Certain things need to be held true. Fortunately for us, Michigan and Michigan State do play twice. Wolverines will play Duke left. They're going to get Minnesota at home. They get Duke this weekend in a neutral site at Washington, I think. Their stiffest test besides the Duke game will be at Illinois. Now, I say that thinking that last night was going to be a pretty stiff test, and it turned out not to be. Never trailed by more than 5. Via text, Freddie, no disrespect. Always appreciate Freddie's contribution to the program. No disrespect to Michigan basketball. Yes, they're playing very well and look like the team to beat, but the history of Michigan basketball since 1989. I get why people bring this up. It has no relevance whatsoever. None. How many coaches has Michigan gone through since 1989? Okay. This isn't Brian Ellerby. It's not Tommy Amaker. It's not John Beilein. Not Juwan Howard. None of these kids were alive in 1989. So there's no administrator who's in there for the same. Okay. The equipment guy, Bob Bland. Is that the link? It doesn't matter that Juwan Howard's team couldn't get it done. John Beilein's team failed in 2 national championship games to close the deal. It does not matter. None of these kids were part of that. None of these coaches were part of that. None of the people within the athletic department, in certain cases, were even part of it. Michigan hasn't been able to close the deal since 1989. So that's a dark cloud over the entire basketball team, even though these people have no link. If it were the same coach and same staff and you had similar players, it's not a pro team. This isn't Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. It's time to move on from Sean McDermott. They haven't finished off great seasons. And yes, it's college, but these kids get paid millions of dollars. It's more than business than a game. So if they don't finish it, Michigan basketball is equivalent to Purdue basketball, wasted seasons. All right, that's I agree with the back end of that. Although, wasted seasons. I always think back to when Giannis Antetokounmpo, when somebody said it was a failed year. He goes, no, it wasn't a failed year. One team's going to win a championship. Now, if you feel like this shouldn't be talked about until you actually do finish it, you have no opinion. I have no opinion. Nobody can have an opinion about what Michigan has done so far. 6-0 against ranked teams, best Ken Palm rating ever, 25-1, number 1 in the country. Doesn't matter if you're at home, doesn't matter if you're on the road, they get it done. Can't even comment about what this team is capable of or what you've witnessed. Why? Because they haven't finished the deal. And it could be a wasted season. It's going to be a wasted season for hundreds of teams this year, except for one. So I don't get that. It's okay to say this team's as good as any team I've seen in the regular season in a while. It doesn't mean that you expect them to win the national championship or whatever. If they do win the national championship, great. If they don't, then we can talk about it. If they get upset in the second round of the NCAA tournament after having this type of regular season, absolutely, you should be disappointed and call it a failed season. Do we look at every season of every team we are cheering for? Do we view that as wasted seasons if they don't win a championship? Did the Pistons have a wasted season a year ago? They won 44 games, 30 more than the year before. Was it a wasted season? Or did that season help them for this season? I don't buy that. Now, if you're going to have a big-time program, then the expectations are heightened. So I'm in agreement here with Freddie. Michigan State, certain programs within the Big Ten specifically, I would guess, UCLA, I'm sure they're pissed at Mick Cronin that they're not getting things done. But you have high expectations. You deserve to have those high expectations, especially when you have this regular season. But as you progress through the season, why wouldn't you want to be able to cast an opinion on what that team has done or not done, I might add? Because if we're going to sit here and say they haven't been able to close the deal since 1989, they've had wasted seasons, so I'm going to wait. That's fine. Then you can't be upset when they lose either, right? If you're not going to get them props when they win, you're not going to be able to give them any flack when they lose, right? Because you haven't reached the postseason yet, if that's what it's about. Coaches like Izzo, Cronin, Leland, we are slowly losing great personalities, wearing their hearts on their sleeves, being tough, being fair, and getting a great quote. Once they're all gone, it will be all robots towing the company line. Unfortunately, many commentators now. Yeah, I miss those coaches. I'm with you on that. I miss those coaches. Here's what I wonder, though. And I thought Mick Cronin was really good at Cincinnati. I thought he was really good at Louisville. I was on record saying if after Beeline, that's the guy I would have gone after. He literally ejected one of his own players last night. I don't know if you saw that. Michigan State's running roughshod all over UCLA. Beating them up and down the floor, beating them on the glass, doing all those things, right? But what he said about Michigan State and what he did to Steve Jamerson II, kicking him out, how far did that go? We'll get your thoughts on that when we come back. We're brought to you this hour by Mitchell Lyons Wealth.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious Cosmic Crisp apples? Money saved. Meyer Essential Paper Towels? That's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meyer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Hey, when you travel, you want low fares, you want reliable service, and you want a direct flight. Avelo Air gives you all of that and more. Avelo Air has direct flights to take Tigers fans to spring training in Lakeland. Avelo Air will take you from Grand Rapids to Lakeland directly on Thursdays and Sundays. They will take you directly from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You literally land 20 minutes from the ballpark. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to worry about any of that other hassle. This is hassle-free travel like you deserve. Go to AveloAir.com and get $20 off a base fare round-trip flight to Lakeland when you book your trip by March 31st. All you have to do is use the code HUGE. That's HUGE on AveloAir.com. Restrictions do apply. See AveloAir.com for details today.
Thanks for listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here with an invitation for everybody to join the Grand Rapids Griffins and Van Andel Institute for the Purple Community Game, which is coming up on March 13th in downtown Grand Rapids. It's a night dedicated to supporting research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's at Van Andel Institute, and you'll have a chance to bid on limited edition Purple Griffins jerseys. You can learn more at vai.org/events.
Really good stuff from Matt Painter last night. Not so good from Mick Cronin. We'll get to that here in a minute. I was just talking about the expectations of Freddie Text and how people view a team that is simply rolling. Team Canada in the Olympics it's ridiculous how good they are. I mean, their first line is Sidney Crosby, Macklin Celebrini, and Connor McDavid. And Connor McDavid's been the best offensive player in the entire Olympics. He's the greatest player in the world. I don't think there's really any question about that. I mean, their second line center is Nathan McKinnon. Now, think about that for a minute. It's nuts. I think the U.S. has a better defense because I really like Quinn Hughes. I really like Jacob Slavin. I really like Charlie McAvoy. I really like Zach Werenski. I like all those guys, right? Fabry. I like all these guys. But the forwards heavily tilted for Canada. Chris Pronger is one of the better defensemen of his era. He's a Hall of Fame player. He recently tweeted this: Canada hasn't been tested. The reason they haven't been tested is because they're that good. They're that dominant of a team. So even a guy who's accomplished as much as he had, Chris Pronger, is falling in line with that narrative. They haven't been tested. If that team, as great as it is, and it is a great team, they're going to win the gold. I'm convinced of that. Be one of the biggest upsets in Olympic hockey history. Not the biggest, but one of, if they don't win gold. I suppose if they lost to the U.S. or even Sweden, since those two teams each have all NHL players, it wouldn't be a massive upset, but it'd still be an upset. Anyway, even a guy like that has come out and said in so many words that Canada has had too much of an easy ride here. Well, it's an easy ride because they are just incredibly gifted. So, I think you're damned if you do, damned if you don't when it comes to that. I want to play something here from Matt Painter in a moment and Mick Cronin. We're trying to figure out, a lot of people are trying to figure out, is Michigan destined to win the Big Ten? They've separated themselves from the pack after blowing out the Boilermakers in West Lafayette last night. Many people thought Purdue had an outside chance at it. Matt Painter put that to rest after the game. Listen to what he said.
These dudes ain't losing 4 games. We got 4 losses. They ain't losing 4 games. So that's just that. That's reality. When you've been in a league for over 25 years, that's reality. When you face up to people like that, that's why they're ranked the way they are. Because like you can be preseason number 1 in the country, that means nothing. But when you're in the middle of February and you're number 1 in the country, it means a whole lot because you earned that one. They earned that. They earned what they've got.
That's so well said. It's something I've always liked about Matt Painter. I mean, he's pretty direct. He gets it. Do you know who has the second fewest losses in the Big Ten? Any idea? Just take a guess.
Illinois.
It's a good guess. The answer is no. It's Nebraska. Nebraska has 4 losses in the Big Ten, which, they've lost to Michigan, they've lost to Illinois, they've lost to Purdue, and they've lost to Iowa. Those are their losses. They're the only team that can catch Michigan. Really. Realistically, they're the only team that can catch Michigan. And it ain't happening. I mean, they've got it. All right. Now, you may not think it's worth much. A regular season title, hanging a banner, a regular season banner, I think means something. I'd be proud of a Big Ten championship tournament banner too, but it's the regular season that really hits home for most. Michigan State knows what that's like. They've won plenty under Tom Izzo and before. They are a blue blood in the Big Ten for sure. Part of the reason that Mackey is so difficult and Breslin is so difficult is because of the passionate fan base. I respect the hell out of it. I really do. it gets louder in those two buildings, Mackey and Breslin, than I think anywhere in the Big Ten. Now, when Indiana's really good, because I think it's larger than both. And as we talked with Chris Solari yesterday, he thought Nebraska got loud. Well, it does, but they don't pack it the way they do at Breslin or Mackey. I don't think it means as much. Okay? They sure don't have the history. But either way, it can be very intimidating. Michigan State blew out UCLA last night, and it was a really rough trip to the mitten for the Bruins. They got pounded by Michigan. They got pounded by MSU. They don't want to come back to the Midwest anytime soon. But Mick Cronin afterwards was asked about the Michigan State student section. This is what he had to say.
What was your thoughts in the student section chanting Booker's name?
I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section.
I just meant the overall the way that you
I would like to give you kudos for the worst question I've ever been asked. Do you really think I care about the other?
No, I don't think you care about the other.
Are you raising your voice at me?
No, I'm just.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Come on, dude.
No reason.
Come on. Yes, you are. Everybody's standing here listening to you. Everybody. This is on camera. They can hear you. I answered the question. I could give a rat's ass about the other team's student section. I coach UCLA. I don't care about Michigan State students.
So he cut off the reporter before the reporter could actually get the words out, what he was looking for, and whether Mick Cronin likes it or not, this is a fact. It was a story out in Los Angeles, and it was, if they even cover much of it, and it was a story here. It was about Xavier Booker coming back to Michigan State. That's what he was trying to get to. What was your reaction to the student section at Michigan State? And before he could say about, booing Booker, he couldn't finish it. So Mick Cronin cut him off. It's probably not the right way to ask the question.
Well, but they were cheering Booker, though. They were cheering Booker, Shep. He was going to get to that. Not that they were booing Booker. They were chanting, "We want Booker" at the end of the game.
Yeah, at the end of the game. I'm talking about like during the game. I thought he was going there. Maybe I'm wrong. But when Mick Cronin cuts him off, I mean, maybe if you say, what were your thoughts on the reaction to Booker coming back and how he was greeted? Something along those lines.
Yeah, that probably would have been a better way to phrase it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy for me to say, I mean, you're trying to, that's me already hearing the answer to the original question.
Yeah, like how could we prevent that?
Yeah, nobody thinks a coach is going to do that. No coach cares about the other team's student section, but that's not where the question was going. So that's number one. Number two, the raising of the voice, he wasn't raising his voice by any stretch. All he was is like, hey, that's not what I meant. And Mick Cronin, who's screaming at referees, who's screaming at his players, who oftentimes screams at his coaches, who just ejected his own player. His own player gets an intentional foul. He gets a technical foul, and Mick Cronin sends him to the locker room. This guy's worried about somebody raising their voice to him. He is getting, nobody can tell these guys, how to handle themselves because it's an emotional game. If you and I have a hard time controlling our emotions, imagine the people who are immersed in it. But he is getting himself into some bad looking situations and trouble. This on top of, was it last year, Trent, you and I played what he said about his guys?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So it's
just ripped him a new one.
Yeah, ripped him a new one, which actually we didn't have much of a problem with. It's interesting that Kansas State's head coach gets fired because of that for cause, which I think is ridiculous. But anyway, and that's why they were my heel of the week.
Was a very similar rant to that, what Mick Cronin said last year. And I did think of that, actually. I'm sure you did too. He was basically just calling out his players for feeling entitled. And it's a privilege to wear the UCLA uniform. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but very similar to what Jerome Tang said and got fired for.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good take. I mean, I think you're right. It's very similar. And that's part of the reason why Kansas State, not the coach, not Coach Tank, but Kansas State was my heel for the week. And we do that every Monday at 8:18, hero and heel. Mick Cronin has 3 different situations over the last 2 years where if you're his boss, you're like, how much control does this guy truly have over himself and his program? And how much is it detrimental to our program, considering a lot of kids probably hear and or read this type of stuff? Him kicking a player out, him going off on a reporter and getting too sensitive, him saying what he said about his team a year ago, him saying what he said about his team earlier this year. That's just in a 1-year span. He's walking that, it's not a Huey Lewis song, but he's walking, that fine line. It's a really bad look for UCLA. Really good look for MSU at 21-5. So good for them. Let me finish real quick. Team USA is going to play Sweden in the quarterfinals of the Olympics this afternoon at 3:00. Sweden beat Latvia 5-1 to advance. You want to see something cool? When Sweden plays the U.S. today, and the women, by the way, play for gold at 1:00. So that'll be fun to watch. Elias Pettersson plays against JT Miller. They both play on Vancouver. Pettersson plays against Quinn Hughes. William Nylander against Austin Matthews. And Hughes used to be on Vancouver, of course. William Nylander plays against Austin Matthews. Both play on Toronto. Lucas Raymond against Dylan Larkin. Both, of course, on the Red Wings. Rasmus Dahlin is an assistant captain for Team Sweden. Tage Thompson's his teammate in Buffalo. They will play. Micah Zibanejad plays against Vincent Trocheck and JT Miller. And against Mike Sullivan, the head coach of Team USA. Jacob Markstrom plays against Jack Hughes, New Jersey Devils. Gustav Forsling against Matthew Tkachuk, both Florida Panthers. Gabriel Landeskog plays against Brock Nelson. Some pretty cool matchups. Teammates during the NHL, but rivals during the Olympics. So kind of a fun little tidbit for you as you watch and move forward with the Olympics later on today. Kind of excited about that. Our phone number, by the way, on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text us, Sports Radio 21,000. Meanwhile, the Red Wings are back on schedule tomorrow in Ottawa. Simon Edvinsson was on the ice at practice Tuesday. He's expected to suit up, so that is really good news. He could be a future Olympian. Here's our Mitch Lyons-Wealth poll question, and it kind of has something to do with what we talked about yesterday regarding the Tkachuks. Would you want either Tkachuk brother on your hockey team? Yes, love their edge. Yes, but I don't like the way they play. No, can't stand either one of them. Somebody had an article, and you can vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. We'll give you the results tomorrow in the 8:00 hour. I will retweet it once that's out there. But somebody had written an article that nobody likes them in the NHL. I'm like, that's pretty strong to say nobody likes them. Those guys, my opinion, are exactly what you want. You got to have at least one of those guys on your hockey team. And it is funny in our market. I want to see the results. I'm really interested in the results tomorrow when we on Tullymore Thursday, when we get those results and Trent gives us those results. I'm very, very interested to see how that plays out. Because in this market especially, we have fully embraced the guys in other sports who play that role. We loved Kirk Gibson. We loved Dennis Rodman. We loved Rick Mahorn. We loved Bill Lambier. And then in the same sport, we've loved Darren McCarty. We've loved Bob Probert. We've loved Joe Kosar. We've loved the grind line. They're not all the same as these guys, but they play a certain role for your team. Team USA needs those guys. And Ottawa needs Brady, and Florida needs Matthew because of the role they play. And by the way, that role that those two guys play for their respective teams, nobody has that role for Detroit. I would expect 100% that people would say yes to this question. Now, that's why I gave you two different yeses. Yes, I love their edge. Yes, but I don't like the way they play. That's fine. But you'd want them on your team. I'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who says, no, I can't stand either one of them. I love them. I do. I think those are the types of hockey players I want. Like somebody ripped on Matthew Tkachuk because he said against Germany, always a bridesmaid, never a bride, to Leon Draisaitl. What's Leon Draisaitl going to say? He can only skate to the bench and go, that's a good zing. They went to the finals in back-to-back years, or the Florida Panthers won the finals in back-to-back years. Leon Draisaitl was on the losing end, and he hasn't won. And somebody was ripping saying, Tkachuk didn't even play. Hold on a second. It's a big reason they got there. He's got 2 rings. Don't try to take something away from the guy. It's not like he's the 27th guy, and he was called up as a black shirt. Knock it off. Just because you don't like him. People in the media letting their emotions get the best of them. You know, it's kind of like yesterday. Michael Jordan celebrated his birthday yesterday. I think it's 63, okay? I didn't send him a card. I didn't send him a cake. I didn't wish him a happy birthday. But here's what I can say. He's the best basketball player I've ever seen. And it doesn't change with certain players today. He's the best basketball player I've ever seen. And if you want results, if you want quote-unquote receipts, that's the big thing today, then go look at his receipts. Olympics, international play, NBA Finals MVPs, all that stuff, okay? Don't let that part get in the way of your clear judgment. Let's hope the judgment is there. Acknowledge when somebody has done something well. Those guys can play. They're not goons. Their role isn't to drop the gloves all the time. They can score, they can skate, they forecheck. They are exactly the type of player just about every team in the NHL needs and wants. Quick timeout. When we come back, we'll dive into some NFL discussion. This is X's and Bros. We're brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth on a Wednesday morning.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Hey, when you travel, you want low fares, you want reliable service, and you want a direct flight. Avelo Air gives you all of that and more. Avelo Air has direct flights to take Tigers fans to spring training in Lakeland. Avelo Air will take you from Grand Rapids to Lakeland directly on Thursdays and Sundays. They will take you directly from Detroit to Lakeland on Wednesdays and Saturdays. You literally land 20 minutes from the ballpark. You don't have to wait in lines. You don't have to worry about any of that other hassle. This is hassle-free travel like you deserve. Go to AveloAir.com and get $20 off a base fare round-trip flight to Lakeland when you book your trip by March 31st. All you have to do is use the code HUGE. That's HUGE on AveloAir.com. Restrictions do apply. See AveloAir.com for details today.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
Lake Michigan Credit Union is proud to be the presenting sponsor of your Detroit Tigers 2026 spring training. Get out to the ballpark this year and enjoy some family-friendly fun. LMCU. You'll love banking there. You have to love all the things Justin Verlander said at his welcome back press conference. Truly, this is a changed person. Age and wisdom can do that, and so can a loving wife and having a baby. Looking back on his years in Detroit wearing the Old English DJV admitted he could be difficult. He wasn't always the best teammate. He says having a daughter changed him to the core, made him want to be present more, look at the bigger picture, and enjoy all of life's little moments. And that means interacting with teammates more. He's proactively going to talk to guys, making sure they know he's always available. And as he put it, not too scary to talk to. He's relishing the chance to learn from guys like Terry Skubal as they learn from him. Good teammate, wise Justin Verlander, who can still pitch a little. He's going to be worth every penny.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. We'll be right back after this break, but while you're waiting, be sure to vote on our daily poll question presented by MitchLyonsWealth.com at XB Mornings on X.
Huge here for the annual Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game, which is coming up on Friday, March 13th at Van Andel Arena in downtown GR. It's a night dedicated to supporting research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's at Van Andel Institute. The Griffins will be taking on the Milwaukee Admirals in special purple jerseys, and you'll have a chance to bid on a limited edition purple jersey of your own after the game. It's a night you won't want to miss. Learn more about the Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game at vai.org/events and also at griffinshockey.com.
Okay, welcome back. The window to franchise tag players in the NFL is open. Okay, we know that. Before we get to that, just a quick thought from a guy like Tom Wilson who plays on Team Canada in the Olympics. And this is a great message, I think, on why you want to make your team player, a team's player, in this case, Tom Wilson, Washington, make him available for this type of international experience. It's more than an experience for these guys. It's about winning, period. Okay, the experience is oftentimes linked to college players. But think about this. Here's what Wilson said playing on Team Canada. Playing with Connor, as in McDavid, has been a highlight of my career. A day like today, Connor and Sidney Crosby, are the hardest working guys executing at the highest level in practice. I'm going to try and take it all in, take all this team in as much as I possibly can. Those two guys, like, I know people in the state of Michigan don't like Sidney Crosby. I think it's a ridiculous reason not to like a generational player. He's one of the greatest players in hockey history. All right. He's a better player than Alexander Ovechkin. Oh my God. Why is it? Alexander Ovechkin has more goals than anybody else. Sidney Crosby's got more points. He makes other players around him better. He's a better 200-foot player. And it's really not close. Ovechkin's a greater scorer. Sidney Crosby's a better hockey player. Anyway, you get a guy who's a veteran like this. Okay, it's hard to, I say this all the time, it's hard to impress pros. It is. When they turn their head and they're like, man, this dude's really good, there's something to be said for that. This guy's been around the NHL for 13 years, okay? And he's played his entire career in Washington, where he's played with some really good players, including Alexander Ovechkin. And what does he say? Their high level of participation, preparation, whatever, in practice inspires him. There's an old cliche that says your best leaders, right? Your best players have to be your best leaders, and your best players have to be your best players all the time. They lead the way in practice. That's what these guys do. And it's rubbing off on certain individuals, just being around them. That's why you want that. Now, does Team USA have players like that? I would say no. I know that sucks, and I hope I'm wrong, but I would say no. And I'm not talking about from a practice standpoint. I'm sure those guys give it everything they can in practice. I'm talking about the aura of Sidney Crosby, the aura of Connor McDavid. Who is that for Team USA? No offense, but it's not Jack Eichel. Even though he's won a cup and McDavid hasn't. It's not the Tkachuk brothers. The Tkachuk brothers, we played this, when was it, Trent? Earlier this year, where on their podcast, they talked glowingly about Dylan Larkin and what a great teammate he is and how hard he works and how he could be on any line and what a great leader he is. And he doesn't wear the C or the A. I don't think Brock Nelson inspires that type of response from a 13-year veteran in the National Hockey League. But I think it's really cool that a guy like that takes the time to acknowledge how important this is for him. All right, let's get to the NFL franchise tags. Would you franchise any Lion? Would you franchise DJ Reader? Would you franchise Alex Anzalone? Would you franchise any of these guys? Those who are going to be free agents. Marcus Davenport. No, I'm just kidding. Absolutely not. Here's just in case you're wondering, the projected franchise tag numbers, according to Sport Track. Quarterback, if you franchise a quarterback, it's $47.4 million. $47.4 million. Okay. And keep this in mind. The Lions have not franchised a player since. Who's the last player they franchised? Take a wild guess.
Oh, what season was it? Can I get that?
Yeah, 2018.
Jeez. Ziggy Ansah?
Good job.
Was
Yes,
it him?
That's exactly who it is.
Okay.
That's exactly. I wouldn't have gotten that.
He didn't play many games that year either, I don't think, if my memory's right.
I don't recall, but I would not have gotten that. So that's a great guess.
He was very injury prone.
But he was really productive when he was healthy. In case people are wondering what the franchise tag is, players get paid either 120% of their salary or of their previous salary, or they make what the average top 5 at their position make. Okay? That's what a franchise tag brings you. So the quarterback, it's $47.5 million. With a wide receiver, it's $28 million. With an offensive lineman, it's $28 million. I'm rounding. It's 27.8, but I'm going to round up. For a linebacker, it's $27.5 million. Would you pay Alex Anzalone? Would you franchise tag Alex Anzalone when he made a little bit more than $6 million last year? Hell no.
No.
You're not doing that. Would you pay DJ Reader $27.5 million? Since that's what it is for a defensive tackle, $27.4 million.
No.
Defensive end, $26.7 million. Would you franchise tag, if you're Cincinnati, Trey Hendrickson at that cost? You might. Corners at 21, safeties at 21, tight ends at 16, running backs at 14, kicker and punters at a little under 7.
So the Seahawks and Kenneth Walker, that's an interesting one. Are they going to franchise him for 14?
I'm reading no.
I am as well.
Surprising. It's a little surprising to me, considering how good he is. But because he shared the backfield, do you really believe in that? The reason I bring these numbers up too is because eventually you're thinking about certain Lions who could be in that situation. That's all. Okay. And because if you're looking at, now I don't have it written down. I didn't see Sport Track break it down by center. Offensive lineman is 27.8. Everybody's all in on Tyler Linderbaum. He's the center for Baltimore, who's viewed, according to Pro Football Focus, take it for what it's worth, a collective eye roll together. Okay, I'm with you on that. He's going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of about $17, $18 million. Would you pay $17, $18 million for the next, let's say, 4 years for Tyler Linderbaum? This is where the emotional aspect and the long view of what your team is supposed to be all about comes into play. This is where people who believe, and I'm not saying you're wrong here, I'm just saying I don't. I believe in player windows. I don't believe in team windows. This is where people who believe in team windows would say absolutely, because you feel like you have to win now. You have to win with Penei Sewell and Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. It doesn't matter how old they are. You feel like the window of opportunity is right now. You can't do that like what Green Bay has done in the past. There's no way you can do what Buffalo has recently done, or Kansas City's recently done, or San Francisco has done, or New England did with Tom Brady. You can't do that. You don't believe your front office has that capability, so you've got to strike while the iron is hot. It's a lot of money for a center, and a guy considered 4th best at his position, according to Pro Football Focus, if you believe in that. Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. We'll continue to talk some football with you on the other side. We are brought to you this hour by friends at Meyer.
Save a good deal more during the Meyer Dollar Deal Sale, February 18th through March 3rd. Shop the entire store and choose from more than 800 items, all $1 each. Fill your basket with favorites like extra large navel oranges, Meyer frozen personal pizza, Powerade sports drink, Knorr pasta or rice sides, and Meyer facial tissue. The Meyer Dollar Deal Sale. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meyer app.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders. when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m. presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Avelo Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AveloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
18 after the hour. Welcome back. About an hour from now, Tim Hardaway Sr. will join us. He joins us once a week. We talk NBA with him. Always fun to talk with Tim Hardaway Sr. and get his perspective on what's going on in the world of basketball and maybe a thought or two on some college hoops from last night. We're talking the NFL and the franchise tag just before the break. We pick it up there. Freddie sent us another text. He said, question, if Indy called and said Quentin Nelson for Amon-Ra St. Brown making that trade, no, I would not trade Amon-Ra St. Brown for Quentin Nelson. Even though I think Quentin Nelson's a really good player. I wouldn't do that. Would you do that? I wouldn't. And this doesn't, I think hopefully you know me by now, and that it's, for me, it's not about, always about anyway, the player itself, the position itself, okay? What Amon-Ra St. Brown has done in the community and all that other stuff. It's great. I love that. I think it's part of who he is. He's still a young player. He's 26. He's done stuff nobody has done in the National Football League history at this age. A 2-time first-team All-Pro, a 3-time All-Pro, forget the Pro Bowls, 3-time All-Pro. First team in each of the previous 2 seasons. This past year, he was second team. He's led the NFL twice in first downs. Nobody has more first down catches over the last 3 years than Amon-Ra St. Brown. So at age 26, I want to keep him. I don't know the financial ramifications. I'm not going to try and predict and tell you all that. No. But I would say you could get more than just a player swap, with all due respect to Quentin Nelson, who I think is a really good player, in just a center for him. And he's a high-level center. Don't get me wrong. I'll reiterate. I think he's a hell of a player. But I think that's, to me, it's a little misguided there. And Quentin Nelson's a 3-time All-Pro, all right? He's about to be 30. How much longer do you have with him? You can replace wide receivers better than quality centers. I get all that. I think it's an area where Detroit can address. You have to be careful, because I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you that Tyler Linderbaum, you got to go out and get him and everything else will fall into place. Because I think that's a little bit of a different situation there. What you probably are going to have to do, and there's nothing wrong with this either, is go out and get a guy who may not be the most name recognizable, but still be a very good player. A Connor McGovern from Buffalo. A James Daniels from Miami. Okay. A Cade Mays from Carolina. They might come a little bit cheaper. So the market value for Connor McGovern, who's an unrestricted free agent, is $16 million. That's going to be out of, in all likelihood, your price range. According to Sport Track, a guy like Ryan Bates from Chicago, no, thank you. He doesn't even start for his team. Cade Mays, it's going to be about $12 million. You save $5 million. Tyler Linderbaum's about 17. Cade Mays is a very good player. He's at about $12 million. That helps you, okay? Those are the types of players that you might have to try and attract. Those are the guys you might have to look at. I mean, I'm sure Brad Holmes and those guys know a hell of a lot more than I do about how these guys rate. Luke Fortner from New Orleans. He's projected to make about $7 million. Who's the guy from Cleveland? Cleveland, Ethan Posich. He's at about $10 million, according to Sport Track. So if that's the case, and you could save a little bit of money, that's where you go. How do you shore that up? Maybe you're drafting somebody. We'll look at mock drafts eventually. Ole Vaya Oeanye from Penn State. Suddenly, you get a really high-end guard, number 71, if you go back and watch any of the film, and he's a road grader. He's a physical presence. And you've got two really good guards, because I expect Tate Ratledge to make a big jump next year. I think he learned a lot this year. When you take as many snaps as he did and you play as many games as he did, he learned an awful lot. You fill in that center position with an established vet. So let's just say Cade Mays, all right, just for the sake of argument, from Carolina. Then you get a road grader at left guard. Hopefully you get another year out of Taylor Decker. If he decides to leave, and I hope he makes that decision sometime soon, before the draft. I hope they do. Or if he's gone, maybe you use that pick on a tackle, and you think Christian Mahogany can be a little bit better. That's how you're going to piece this together. You're not going to piece it together by bringing in all kinds of free agents, considering the financial ramifications this team faces. It's just not going to happen. So you've got to draft and develop certain positions. That's why you got to hope that Christian Mahogany is a good player. If indeed a guy like Taylor Decker retires. If he retires and you can fill that void at left tackle, great. Because you don't want to be out there spending all kinds of free agent dollars on center and left tackle, and then suddenly having to deal with, a poor left guard. If Mahogany's good enough and Decker leaves, you can use that draft pick on a left tackle you think is ready to come in and play right away and solve the center problem with perhaps a free agent. Because there's not many centers coming out in college that are viewed as, high first-round picks, at least from what I've seen so far. Maybe things change. Maybe things change after the combine, and the combine is next week. It begins next week, right, the 23rd. Phone number on the Meijer hotline, 866-838-4843. You could text us, Sports Radio 21000. Again, I like Quentin Nelson a lot, but I wouldn't give up Amon-Ra St. Brown for it. There's only so many footballs that can go around. You and I both know that. People are looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown and bringing in veterans. Like somebody yesterday afternoon said, Amon-Ra St. Brown to Kansas City for Chris Jones, who's a really good player. I mean, he's one of the better defensive tackles of his era. I would say he's still a very high productive defensive tackle in the National Football League. You just spent a first-round pick on a defensive tackle. You better work out. Can't miss on first-rounders, man. You also have a lot tied up in another defensive tackle that you've used as a high draft pick and then committed financially to him long-term. Those guys have to be good. It's one thing saying you got to know when to cut ties when you've made a mistake, but it's not after a year for each of those guys. When you sign the one guy to a long-term deal and you inked the one guy as a first-round pick, those guys, it's okay to say, they just have to elevate their game for you to be better. You want to address that for Amon-Ra St. Brown to a Kansas City team for a Chris Jones, who's a captain and a really good player, but is also 32 years old. And you're going to stop with a pass rush? He had 7 sacks last year. You're going to stop with a pass rush? You're not going to address the opposite defensive end position? Or do you just think Hassanin is going to come in as a 6th-round choice and be this, guy who's unstoppable? No, it's not how you build a team. I don't think. Now, if you're able to get a defensive end, somebody had put this out. Would you trade Jamison Williams in a first-round pick for Max Crosby? I'd have to think long and hard about that. That's a different story. That's a different argument. We'll talk about that maybe on the other side. And something that we said yesterday, the national news is picking up. And which team in the NFL do you think could go worst to first and vice versa? We'll talk about all that and more coming up here at 7:35 on X's and Bros, and we're brought to you by Meijer.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLionsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Avelo Air knows how much you love the Tigers. They love them too. They want to help you get to spring training in Lakeland because it is an awesome time. They fly nonstop from Grand Rapids to Lakeland Thursdays and Sundays, and nonstop from Detroit to Lakeland Wednesdays and Saturdays. Everyday low fares and reliable service. You don't want to fly anywhere else. Book your trip to Lakeland on AveloAir.com and use the promo code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare when you book by March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Thanks for tuning in to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here with an invitation for everybody to join the Grand Rapids Griffins and Van Andel Institute for the Purple Community Game, which is coming up on March 13th in downtown Grand Rapids. It's a night dedicated to supporting research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's at Van Andel Institute, and you'll have a chance to bid on limited edition Purple Griffins jerseys. You can learn more at vai.org/events.
All right, 35 after the hour. Welcome back. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Michigan a winner. They're off to their best start in the history of their basketball program at 25-1. They blow out Purdue last night. In case you missed it, you missed a dominating performance, 91-80. 6 players in double figures. Sure, that sounds good. U of M shoots 53%, had 24 assists on 30 field goals made. They hit 13 triple, shot 56% from deep. That's the most threes in the Dusty May era. Here's what he had to say after his team won its 21st game by double digits. Listen.
The number one ranking, when you become number one and you do it on a week where you have to go to Purdue and play Duke on a neutral site, then you know it could be short-lived if you let it affect you at all. And so our guys, we just get to the next thing. Now, tomorrow seems like our first off day in a long, long time. So we need to get back, regroup, and start preparing for Duke. And then even we'll change our focus a little bit with this game, where this is going to be more of we're going to treat it like a Sweet 16, hopefully Final Four type of game, where we're going into it with a short prep. We don't know them very well. Can we get our guys, and then can we execute a game plan? And if we do it well, then it'll be an awesome win. If we don't, then it'll be a great learning experience for us moving into the next month.
Trent, quick question.
Yeah.
When he says short prep, how do you take that? Because they play Duke on the weekend, don't they? Isn't it Saturday?
Yeah, Washington? I thought so. I can double check that, but
it's the 21st.
I would have stopped. I would have stopped with him just saying it's a team we don't know very well, because from that standpoint, it makes sense. You've been in the thick of Big Ten season. You've played all the big dogs in the Big Ten, and then you're completely switching conferences and play styles like that. I think he's got a very valid point on.
Yeah, look, if it's a short work week
with 2 full days,
he's got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Right? 3 days to prep. Now, remember this. The turnaround for any coach, it's not just Dusty May or Michigan. The turnaround, you're working on this stuff on the plane on your way home. They're not sitting back and going, oh, could I have another Diet Coke, please? And I'd love maybe another sandwich if you got it, please. and closing their eyes. They're not. Those guys are on their laptops as soon as they hit that plane. Hell, a lot of them on the bus. That's the way it used to, at least when I rode the bus with teams. They're on their laptops right away. And they're looking at this film of what they just did against Purdue, what they liked and what they didn't like. And then they will hit Purdue, close that portion of it, and then focus on Duke. But you've got 3 full days. A shorter turnaround might be Minnesota, Illinois. Minnesota, you play on the 24th. That's over. Then you've got 2 days before you play Illinois. So I'm not sure what he meant by the short turnaround, but let's not get too caught up in mincing phrases there. His team is the best team in the country, and this will be a hell of a test for both teams. Duke is ranked 3rd right now. They're really flipping good too. Boozer 2 days ago had 22. So that will be the marquee matchup of the weekend in college basketball, and it'll be on ESPN. I would think they would do a really big deal about that. Big deal for Michigan State last night. They got a nice response, and they shoot 53%. They win the battle of the glass, and they blow out UCLA 82-59. Jeremy Fears had a double-double. Spartans improved to 21-5. Iowa upset number 9 Nebraska by 5. Ohio State pounded number 24 Wisconsin by 17. And that's where you're left going, what the hell is going on here? You know, how in the world does Wisconsin lose to Ohio State, who's not very good? Team USA plays Sweden in the quarterfinals of the Olympics this afternoon. Sweden beat Latvia 5-1 to advance. The women's hockey team is going to play for gold at 1:00 today. And the women's hockey team has outscored teams, 26-1? They have been the most dominating team in any sport in the Olympics thus far. That included a 5-0 win over Canada earlier in the tournament. Red Wings are back on schedule tomorrow. They're in Ottawa. Ottawa will be without Brady Tkachuk. The Wings will be without either Dylan Larkin or Lucas Raymond, because one of them is going to lose today. And Lucas Raymond is the 2nd highest scoring forward in the Olympics, second to Connor McDavid. Simon Edvinson was on the ice at practice yesterday. He will suit up against the Senators. That's what's expected. Here's the Mitch Lionswell poll question. Speaking of hockey and the Olympics, would you want either Kachuk brother on your hockey team? Yes, I love their edge. Yes, but I don't like the way they play. No, I can't stand either one. I can't figure out why you would vote the last, but I put it up there just in case. Vote as often as you want at XB Mornings, and we'll give you the results on a Tullymore Thursday. Let's get to a couple of texts. Go ahead, Trent.
The Lions window is now because no Lions front office has ever shown sustained high-end winning. You got to get to one Super Bowl first and then worry about the long-term success.
Okay. All right. Like I said before, I understand why some people feel that way. Again, when you're talking about front offices, what's the common denominator between this front office and past front offices? There's no Bob Quinn. There's no Chuck Schmidt. There's no Russ Thomas. Okay. There's no Tom Lawand. There's nobody in that front office who is a holdover. Matt Millen's come and gone. But to the texter's point, the last 2 years, I suppose you could say 3 years, but the last 2 years have been disappointing. Not the regular season of 15-2. That performance against Washington was disappointing. I know a lot of people want to blame Ben Johnson for play calling. I remind you how many points they scored, how many yards they put up. It was the turnovers by the players. One glaringly stupid call for sure. The Jamison Williams pass. But as exuberant as we were at 15-2, and proud of that, the loss to Washington really made you forget everything during the regular season. At least it did for me. The year before, the second half in the NFC Championship game was disturbing, but it gave you at least some hope in the overall outcome of how they performed. I'm talking about the game. This past season, just it'd be a good debate on what was the most disappointing. The reason this past season is so disappointing for me is that you realized what your team was built on. You realized what the identity of your team was. You knew you lost two key figures to it, and you did not address it the way a team with a sense of urgency, a team who feels like its window, that's the texter's word, the window is now.
And you did that because you thought you addressed it by bringing in those younger pieces that you thought were going to step in a lot more comfortably than they did, as it turns out. Is that fair?
I think it's fair. I'm
like,
not
that's what their philosophy
Tate
was.
Ratledge. My problem is with the center position more than any other. Okay.
Sure.
Now, it's easy for me to say that. I don't know the financials. I don't know who's available. I don't know who would have been the perfect fit. We know who wasn't, though. And based on your experience with said player, you knew he was better at guard than center. I would have had no issue whatsoever if that team went into training camp last year and had Graham Glasgow as their left guard or even their right guard, because the left guard does most of the pulling. And if he's not very good at that, then put him at right guard. We know this. At center, he was pretty regularly beaten, borderline abused. Okay? So that was my issue with them. My issue was a recognition of what your team needs for who they are and to make one of their best players perform at his best. We know that quarterback, as good as he is, and I think he's the best quarterback in the division. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. Doesn't help his case when the guy he replaced or was traded for wins the MVP. And people don't want to accept that. The guy he was traded for won a Super Bowl right away, and shortly thereafter won the most valuable player of the National Football League. While your team was a 1 seed and failed with home field advantage throughout, and then missed the playoffs. And I know before that got to the NFC Championship game, but couldn't get anything going in the second half. Okay, so you're looking at a situation here where you know who your quarterback is. I like him. I think he's a good player. I want him. But we also understand that he is a guy who's on the spot. I want you to think about this for a minute. If there's a football team out there and they know their quarterback, whoever it may be, let's say Pittsburgh back in the day, Ben Roethlisberger, who was, for the most part, standing on the spot kind of guy in the pocket. Rarely did he move much. When he first came out of Miami, maybe a little bit. But overall, didn't move a whole lot. They're not rolling him. They're not play action rolling him. He's not much of a threat to run the football, okay? These guys can all run for a first down if they need 3 yards, but he's not a running threat, okay? They're high-level athletes, for crying out loud. I don't think that they walk like they're on a ladder. But on the other hand, we also know it's not necessarily their strength. So with Jared Goff, knowing that that's not his strength, and you not addressing that offensive line the way you feel like you should, how is that dissimilar than you ignoring any need that you have or putting any player in a position to be successful? You know damn well, in order for your team to be successful, because of who he is, you've got to protect him. And I know that's a cliche in the National Football League or football in general. Of course, you got to protect the quarterback. Some have the ability to go outside that preferred pocket and do what they do best more than others. Jared Goff's in the other camp. You recognize what your team is. You recognize the strength of that most important position, and yet you failed him and failed your team by addressing it the right way. And on top of that, you kept doing it over and over and over.
And it hurts even more when it fails, because when you did address it and you did have the pieces you needed to have, it was wildly successful.
Correct.
So that even just, I mean, that puts salt in the open wound to me, because it's like, you knew what you had. You knew how high of a level they could produce when he had that kind of protection. And you lose that big of a
last
piece.
year. Don't get me wrong. He did. He produced last year. He had a numbers-wise, a very good year. Sacks-wise, no.
Yeah.
He took more sacks this past season than he ever has in his entire career. And you knew, even though you were put in a tough spot, Frank Ragnow unexpectedly retired, which worries you a little bit too. How close are you to with your players where you're not acknowledging that, recognizing that? And that's why I said earlier in the show, please, Taylor Decker, make a decision before the draft.
And they should be pushing for it as well.
Well, think about this, Trent. They knew they weren't going to re-sign Kevin Zeitler. You know how they knew? They addressed the right guard position in the second round, right?
Yep.
So knowing that, I mean, I guess you're put in a tough spot because the player waited too long to tell you. But shouldn't you have a better feel for that with your team? I believe you should. And that's why I'm hoping they have a better feel for what Taylor Decker's intentions are. They can't fumble, no pun intended, this decision again. So I like Jared Goff. Trust me, I do. I like him a lot. But it's okay to say you need something. He needs better protection up front. And for this team to be successful, that's what's going to happen. But I don't think this has anything to do with, past regimes with the Lions. Those guys, Matt Millen, Bob Quinn, those guys are buffoons, man. They are. They didn't know how to build a team. This front office has at least given us more than one example of how you should build a football team. And maybe I'm crazy. What's that?
The texter follows up real quick. They just said, I know this isn't the same front office, but 70 years shows a pattern.
Yeah.
And I understand why you'd be jaded or not so quick to believe. Yeah, I mean, a 2-year sample size shouldn't necessarily everything's fixed.
Yeah, we should all be jaded. Look, I mean, I understand the negativity associated with the team. I do. I try not to let every team failure or success affect a team moving forward. Because if you have different people in charge, different players, and so on and so forth, should we have, if you look at it from a traditional standpoint, should we not be giving the Red Wings more pressure, considering they've been this city's most successful franchise? Well, we understood what the rebuild was going to be. At least most of us who know what those are. We heed the advice of Steve Yzerman and people around the sport, knowing that it's going to be a challenge to get this up and running quickly. It's been too long as far as I'm concerned, but a lot of the younger players are coming into their own and things are working out. Okay. And hopefully it continues that way. So based on tradition, there you go. Well, what's the tradition with the Lions? It's minimal, right? We know that. I mean, Tom Brady alone in New England had more double-digit winning seasons than the Lions did in the history of their franchise. So we understand that. And I don't blame you for being jaded one damn bit. I believe this front office has shown the ability to recognize certain talent. They're not always going 4 for 4, 7 for 7 in a draft, 4 for 4 in the first 4 picks, 7 for 7 in a full draft. I understand that. They're not going to swing and connect on every single free agent that they sign either. But you can't have multiple losses in the same season. It's tough to swing and miss on a rookie deal. Doesn't mean he's done, but Tyleik Williams did not have the effect that you expected at the defensive tackle. And then neither did DJ Reed as a wide receiver. And then neither did your decision to keep Graham Glasgow at center. Those, and neither did the coaching staff incorporate Isaac Tesla the way you had hoped it would. You compound those on top of those people who were injured, and you have the recipe for a mitigated disaster. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text us, Sports Radio 21,000. Tim Hardaway Sr. joins us 8:18 here on X's and Bros. We're glad you're with us on a Wednesday morning, brought to you by Meyer.
In the Den with Dan Dickerson.
Lake Michigan Credit Union is proud to be the presenting sponsor of your Detroit Tigers 2026 spring training. Get out to the ballpark this year and enjoy some family-friendly fun. LMCU. You'll love banking there. You have to love all the things Justin Verlander said at his welcome back press conference. Truly, this is a changed person. Age and wisdom can do that, and so can a loving wife and having a baby. Looking back on his years in Detroit wearing the Old English DJV admitted he could be difficult. He wasn't always the best teammate. He says having a daughter changed him to the core, made him want to be present more, look at the bigger picture, and enjoy all of life's little moments. And that means interacting with teammates more. He's proactively going to talk to guys, making sure they know he's always available. And as he put it, not too scary to talk to. He's relishing the chance to learn from guys like Terry Skubal as they learn from him. Good teammate, wise Justin Verlander, who can still pitch a little. He's going to be worth every penny.
Huge here for the annual Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game, which is coming up on Friday, March 13th at Van Andel Arena in downtown GR. It's a night dedicated to supporting research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's at Van Andel Institute. The Griffins will be taking on the Milwaukee Admirals in special purple jerseys, and you'll have a chance to bid on a limited edition purple jersey of your own after the game. It's a night you won't want to miss. Learn more about the Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game at vai.org/events and also at griffinshockey.com.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Avelo Airlines knows you love the Tigers because they love them too. It's why they have direct flights to Lakeland, Florida out of both Grand Rapids and Detroit. Thursdays and Sundays are nonstop out of GR, and Wednesdays and Saturdays are nonstop out of Detroit. So wherever you are in Michigan, you can get down to spring training to watch your Tigers. With everyday low fares, reliable service, you do not want to fly any other way. Head to AveloAir.com to book your trip now. That's AVELO air.com and use code HUGE for $20 off a round-trip base fare if you book before March 31st. Restrictions do apply.
Save a good deal more during the Meijer Dollar Deal Sale, February 18th through March 3rd. Shop the entire store and choose from more than 800 items, all $1 each. Fill your basket with favorites like extra large navel oranges, Meijer frozen personal pizza, Powerade sports drink, Knorr pasta or rice sides, and Meijer facial tissue. The Meijer Dollar Deal Sale. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Good article this morning. And welcome back. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9. Good article this morning on ESPN.com, where they talk about the NFL players who need a new home. They need a change of scenery. Okay. Now, the reason I went to this is because I saw something on social media last night that ESPN said the best fit for the Lions for edge would be Joey Bosa. We said this earlier this week, if you recall. He would be the right fit. I would take that. He's been injured in his career, but I mean, if I want a guy to play, I don't know, 60% of the snaps or so, that he'd be good.
I think he played the full season last year too with the Bills. So he made it to the end of the year.
Yeah, so I mean, good for him. He's not his brother, and that's okay. He's still a productive player. Is he a threat for you? He's absolutely a threat. Okay.
He'd be much more of a threat than anything the Lions have had opposite Hutch or bringing in Zadarius Smith the last 3 years.
Yeah,
that's
the
point.
Agree, I would agree with that. Now, when are you getting him? Are you getting him on? He's going to be 31. The back end of his career, all those other things. Hey, listen. Here's a guy, and keep in mind, you said he's only played, and he didn't play every game. He played 15 games.
Okay.
So, but still, I mean,
I would take it.
I would take it too. Thank you. That's exactly how I would put it. I would take it. How many sacks do you think he had, though? I was just complaining about Chris Jones. He had 5.
5? Okay.
Okay. Hasn't had a ton of production.
But what about pressures, Shep? Sorry, I had to ask.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Pressures, he had 24 this past year, according to Pro Football Reference.
Okay.
You're not asking this guy. We have to keep things in perspective. All right. How many snaps are you asking him to play? What's the percentage of snaps you're asking him to play? I just said 60 snaps. He played 60%. He played 64% of the snaps and was a productive player. He hasn't played, that many snaps since in the last 5 years. All right. Most snaps he's ever played in a single season was 89%. All right. So, or 86%, excuse me. And that was like in year 4. You have to understand what you're getting. You have to understand what you're asking this guy to do. Now, in fairness to him, playing opposite Aiden Hutchinson, playing along somebody hope will be better interior-wise, might give him better numbers. Okay? I'd love to know the double teams and the rub blocks that he had off, chip blocks and things of that nature compared to others. But I think he would be a good fit for the Lions, especially if you could get him to play a few more snaps, but playing alongside maybe better defensive linemen if they have a better season than they did this past year. So I found that interesting. But when you look at, and we were talking earlier in the show about free agency and when it hits, but franchise tags, and I wouldn't tag anybody if I were the Lions. Breece Hall's probably going to get tagged by the Jets. George Pickens will probably get tagged by the Cowboys. Maybe Daniel Jones of the Colts. I'm surprised that Kenneth Walker is not getting tagged by the Seahawks. If I were them, I probably would do that. But either way, if I'm the Lions, I'm not doing that. This ESPN article came out with the players who need a change of scenery. If there is somebody on the Lions who needs a change of scenery, who do you think they would have? What's the name that comes to mind?
You're just saying someone who's under contract or no?
Yes. It's not a free agency. So if you want to say Graham Glasgow, you can't do that. I think he's under contract.
Oh, okay. So Alex Anzalone.
Yeah. This says, well, he's a free agent, though. He's not under contract. This says David Montgomery.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's the obvious one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Buffalo with Keon Coleman makes a ton of sense. When the owner comes out and the general manager and they talk the way they did about Keon Coleman is ridiculous. Miami, Tua Tagovailoa makes a lot of sense, right? It just doesn't seem like it's working there. In Cincinnati, Trey Hendrickson, because I think he's got 1 year left on his – I thought he was a free agent, but maybe he's got 1 year left. They could franchise tag him. So anyway, for Detroit, what they do, like Anthony Richardson for the Colts, that makes a ton of sense. For the NFC North, and I like this because they break it down for every single team. So Quay Walker for Green Bay, I think he's overrated. They actually wrote J.J. McCarthy from Minnesota, which I think is kind of funny. But David Montgomery, here's what they write. It felt as if the Lions' Sonic and Knuckles backfield became more of the Sonic, Jahmyr Gibbs, show as the 2025 season went along. Although Montgomery, they said Knuckles, I said Montgomery, still played plenty of snaps. Montgomery only dropped from 41% of the offensive snaps to 37%. But what dropped, and this is something that we brought up at the end of the regular season, was his touches. He went from 221 to 182. 40 touches is a lot, man.
That is a lot. That's more than two a game.
Yeah, that's a ton. Montgomery will turn 29 in June, and the Lions might look to save some money on the cap by moving on from him this offseason. It also might be better for his career to take a lead back role with a different team. I don't disagree with any of that.
No, it makes sense for both sides too, unfortunately, because I know he's a fan favorite. People love the Sonic and Knuckles thing, but given exactly what you just broke down in that article, yeah, he could start for a handful of teams right now, and he'd probably rather do that than only play 37% of the snaps and have his production consistently go down.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's as much starting as it is just getting run.
Exactly, because I don't think he doesn't strike me as the type that cares if he starts or not.
Yeah, he could come off the bench. He can miss the first series, whatever. He wants the opportunity to perform, and that has not been the case, or at least it wasn't the case this past year. You should have seen this coming, because when you use a first-round pick on a running back who can do as much as Jahmyr Gibbs can, then for sure you're going to do something about that. What do you do if you're the Lions? If that is the case, and you do trade him, and you're not going to get much for him. I hate to say that. It's not a reflection on him as a player or him as a character. If you listen to the show long enough, you know how much I respect him and how much I like him. But you're not getting much for him. You're going to get a late round draft pick for a guy like David Montgomery.
I was going to say fifth rounder. Do you think?
I was going to say sixth, but okay, fifth. I mean, I'd take the fifth. I mean, I'd take a fifth round pick. You need some. There has to be a balance. Nobody's doing that bell cow thing on a regular basis. All right, everyone gets a little bit of a break. You know me. You know that how I feel about certain players. You know that I'm very high on Bijan Robinson. Right? I think Bijan Robinson's the best running back in the National Football League. I know for some people that's blasphemy because Jahmyr Gibbs is ours. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I just think Bijan Robinson's the best running back in the league. It's okay. I mean, doesn't mean you're a hater. At some point during Barry Sanders' career, somebody in another market said, I think Barry Sanders is the best. Okay? And it wasn't at the end of his career. It was while his career was going on. I think Bijan Robinson's the best. We can have a good debate about it. He also gets some rest. Tyler Algiers comes in for him. So Jahmyr Gibbs is going to need some plays, saying that they need him off. He's going to need a breather. How's that? Okay. Who's their third running back? Do you think it automatically elevates Sione Vaki? Can he do what David Montgomery did before? Probably not. So that might be an area, if you lost David Montgomery, that you would have to address. Folks, this is why I said at the end of the regular season, not when the season was over, but nearing the end, I said, I want you to think long and hard. When people say, you got to move on from this guy, move on from that guy. You got to move on from Terrion Arnold. No. You know what you got to do? You got to hope that dude actually is a player. You got to hope that DJ Reed bounces back. You got to hope that Brian Branch is healthy and that Kirby Joseph is going to be healthy, because you got to replace a linebacker, you got to get a defensive end, you got to get a center, you got to get another tackle, you got to get another running back, you got to get another tight end. You can't address it all. At some point, this management team better be right about Terrion Arnold, about Tyleik Williams, about Tate Ratledge, about Isaac Tesla, and some of the others. If not, we're screwed. Back after this with Tim Hardaway Sr. Stay with us.
How would you like to win airfare and tickets to a Tiger Spring training game in Lakeland, Florida, courtesy of Avello Airlines, The Huge Show, and the Michigan Sports Network? Well, all you have to do is text Tigers to 21,000, and you'll be in the drawing for one of 4 trips we are giving away courtesy of Avello Airlines, The Huge Show, and the Michigan Sports Network. Just text Tigers to 21,000 to get into the drawing. That's Tigers to 21,000.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Save a good deal more during the Meijer Dollar Deal Sale, February 18th through March 3rd. Shop the entire store and choose from more than 800 items, all $1 each. Fill your basket with favorites like extra large navel oranges, Meijer frozen personal pizza, Powerade sports drink, Knorr pasta or rice sides, and Meijer facial tissue. The Meijer Dollar Deal Sale. That's the good life. A good deal better. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
18 after the hour. Welcome back. Always enjoy our visits with Tim Hardaway Sr., the Hall of Famer, and the co-host of the Crossover podcast with Lindsey Hunter. Find it anywhere you get your podcasts, and especially on YouTube. That's where you want to see it, YouTube. Crossover podcast, Tim Hardaway Sr. and Lindsey Hunter, and we welcome in the Hall of Famer now. Tim, we appreciate the time as always. What are your thoughts on the All-Star game format? How'd you enjoy it?
You know what? Appreciate you all having me on each week and talking about the game that I love. I was down there and in LA, and everybody was wondering how the format was going to be and if they was going to play, how hard was they going to play, how serious was they going to take it. But I always thought they had fun and enjoyed themselves. But I think Wembanyama came out and set the tone. Even though they lost 2, he set the tone like, look, man, even before they played, he like, we coming forward. I want to win. I want to show you all I'm the best. Now I'm coming to be the face of the NBA and all that. Even though they lost 2, he went out there and started it, played with the intensity, with the energy, and the crowd just felt it. The other teams felt it. They said, okay, we better bring it. But, the format is the format, but the guys got to still play. And I think the guys went out there and put on a wonderful show. Kawhi Leonard showed why he is one of the best when he's healthy. It was just all the guys went out there and just played very well. And I think all in all, it was a win-win situation for the NBA in the All-Star game this year.
How close do you think it was to the games in which you played?
In which I played?
Yeah, as an All-Star. Yeah.
This year's intensity and energy, it was like the 90s to me this year. All the previous years, it wasn't. This year, them guys went out there and played. They played defense. They blocking shots, stealing the basketball. They played for the excitement to show people why they are all-stars. And, and we was missing some people. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, who else? Just down the line. We were just missing a bunch of players on each team. And I tell you this, if LeBron James and team could have had enough players on their team with Steph on the team or whoever, they would have won, but they just ran out of gas.
Yeah, I love the intensity too. Is there a way that you feel like it could be a complete game? Did you mind the 12-minute games? I found myself wanting longer than what they gave us.
I felt the same way. I wanted a little bit longer, but that's something that we have to come up with. Can they sustain it a little longer? Can it be, 12 to 14 world guys against 12 to 14, all-stars? So that's going to be hard because, it's a bunch of all-stars that, don't get on the team and should be on the team. They try to fit it how they can. So, but yeah, I wanted a little bit longer. But, to sustain it, you got to have more players. Like I said, Kawhi Leonard and them, they played like 24 minutes straight, and they was just burnt out. They was done. So you got to have some more players on the team to sub in and to have them have more energy at the end of the game.
The podcast is called Crossover with Tim Hardaway Sr., the Hall of Famer, and Lindsey Hunter, the 2-time world champ. You don't want to miss it. Catch it on YouTube or any place you get your podcast. Tim Hardaway Sr., the Hall of Famer, joining us here on X's and BrO's. When you see the second half of the season begin, it's really the post All-Star break because they played more than half the season. But when you see the second half of the season begin, who's the biggest threat to the Pistons in the East, do you think?
I see the biggest threat to the Pistons is, still New York Knicks. Still New York Knicks. They're going to find a way. They're going to see what they can do, even though they got blown out 3 straight games. Then Stewart not going to play this game, or Durham is not going to play this game. So if they win, they'd be like, we the one because they 2 big players not there. But, you know, I think that Detroit Pistons are in their head going forward. You know, you got the acquisition of James Harden. James Harden is a hard stop. You know, he's a tough cover. And, you know, Donovan Mitchell always been a tough cover. So, you know, we got to see how they're going to, you know, come together as a team. And it's just a honeymoon. 4 games is still a honeymoon. Let's see 15 games in. Let's see 20 games in. Let's see how they're going to do when they get in the playoffs. So, you know, because both of them, Mitchell and Harden, have they troubles when it's deciding games. And Boston Celtics, who knows about Tatum? You know, but Jaylen Brown, he got them rolling. And they got a guy in Vucevic that can stretch out the floor and get them guys drive and make plays at the rim. And he steps out there and shoot threes. You know, now they got a center like they did in Al Horford that can make shots. So, it's you know, I think those 3 teams will contest the Detroit Pistons for Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I think Jaylen Brown deserves to be in the MVP conversation. I don't think enough is being made of that right now, and he's not. He's not. It's unfair, but he's not. And I think it's an oversight by anybody having a discussion. When I talk about MVP, and maybe it's too early, but if you're going to bring up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that's fine. If you're going to bring up Luka Doncic, or if that's okay, I guess. If you're going to bring up Nikola Jokic, you know, he's got to keep playing. Cade Cunningham's in there. Jaylen Brown deserves to be in there too, because he has kept that team afloat. He's kept them relevant while they've waited for possibly Jason Tatum to come back. Tim Hardaway Sr., a Hall of Famer, joining us here on X's and Bros. Here's my question that I think a lot of people are wondering about regarding experience. How much experience, Tim, do you think you need in the postseason before people believe that you are ready to take the next step in the postseason? I don't think things are linear in sports. I don't think you have to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals before you make it to the finals. But does Detroit have enough experience from that disappointing series loss last year to New York to go further than they possibly would have if things were linear, if you will?
Okay. I want to ask this question. Why do they think New York has the experience? You know,
because they've made the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row.
Okay, that's not experience. They didn't make the finals.
Right.
To me, you got to make the finals, you know, in order to be experienced to win a championship. Look at OKC. They lost to Dallas Mavericks a couple of years ago, and the next following year they win a championship. So it doesn't matter about experience. I think that if you get guys that want to go out there and win, that loves to play, that understand they can win now, right now, and you go out there and win right now. I think that the Detroit Pistons want to win right now. They got the fortitude to win right now. They got the charisma, they got the energy, and they got the confidence that they go out there and win a championship right now. And who's in front of their way? A couple of teams really, 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 it's definitely going to come down to the playoffs. And like I said, that's why I'm happy that they didn't trade Tobias Harris, because they don't need Tobias Harris in the playoffs. They're gonna need his leadership. They're gonna need what he can bring to the table, and they're gonna need his post up down the stretch in slow games. So I think that to me that's just a cliche. If you got it, if you ready, go out there and win. You know, you ain't got to listen we gotta wait our turn. No, you ain't got to wait your turn. Your turn is now. Go out there and seize the moment.
Thank you. Last question for you. It's a tough one. What does the NBA do about tanking?
You know what? Adam Silver got a tough job to do. The NBA has a tough job to do with that. You got to look very closely at who's tanking, who's not trying to tank, who, you know, to me, Utah Jazz, they shouldn't have sat all those guys down at one particular time.
That's right.
I mean, that's showing you. That's really showing you. After the trade, and I do all this, then I'm not going to go and try to win and try to make it to the playoffs. That looked like it was kind of suspect. But other than that, if I was team, you know, go out there and play and let it. I mean, you're not promised the number 1 pick. You're not promised the number 2 pick. You're not promised the number 3 pick. But you still got to go out there and play and give the fans what they want to see and give them their money's worth. And I think that MJ got a hard job.
Yep,
and
he does. He's got a really tough job, but it's up to those coaches and those owners to reel their team in and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do.
But I think Adam Silver did
he did
lay the law down.
Yep, he did. He laid it down. Let's hope it takes. Tim, always great to visit with you. Thank you for your time. Have a great rest of the week. Okay.
You do the same.
He's the Hall of Famer, Tim Hardaway Sr. Catch him on the podcast with Lindsey Hunter. That podcast is called Crossover. We're back after this. We're brought to you by Avello Airlines.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Back with you, 35 after the hour. I love looking back on certain things. You know how certain parts or certain moments in your childhood still leave an impression? You ever have that? Maybe The Catch by Dwight Clark for me. Dr. J against the Lakers with one of the most iconic dunks in NBA history. They're playing in the finals, and there's a loose ball. Sixers are going left to right. There's a loose ball up the far sideline. Michael Cooper goes to get it. Dr. J pokes it ahead, takes it, brings it up the left sideline, and then with the right hand, rocks it and dunks it. It is one of the more iconic dunks, I think, in NBA lore by a guy who is considered, I would hope, by most, one of the greatest dunkers of all time. We can have that debate. Vince Carter, David Thompson, Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordan among them. Okay, we can do that. But that moment right there is pretty awesome. You know what's going to be awesome later today? Team USA plays Team Sweden in the quarterfinals of the Olympics. There are 7 Minnesota Wild players who will play against one another in that game. That's pretty sweet. I've also seen a lot of this. After the All-Star game, you get momentum going in one way or the other. The momentum for Team USA is interesting. Interesting in this sense. The more NBA people you follow, the more feel like they want to predict what the 2028 USA roster will look like. And this is not an exaggeration. Every single person I've seen who's tried to predict this has had Cade Cunningham on it and Jalen Duren on it. And every single person I've seen trying to predict this has them as starters.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those guys in the starting lineup as well in these projections.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple that have like Anthony Davis still hanging on to the starting center spot. But I've seen Cade at point guard in pretty much every single one of them, whereas even a year ago, you were seeing some Tyrese Halliburton, some Jalen Brunson. Now it's like all you're seeing is Cade.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, it means nothing right now because it's just projection, but it goes to show that people are catching on. We talk all the time, Shep, about how we like external validation. We don't need it, but it helps. It helps validate that you're not just too close to your team. You're not just a homer, so to speak. Other outside eyes are seeing what you're seeing.
Agreed. Halliburton would be on the team, but he just wouldn't be in that starting lineup.
Yeah, I think both
it's
those
amazing.
guys.
It's amazing how things can shift because the latest one I saw was Cunningham, Devin Booker. Somebody said Devin Booker is going to be too old. Are you kidding me? Dude can flat out shoot. I don't think he's going to be too old, but either way, Anthony Edwards, of course, would be part of it. Had Halliburton come off the bench. If we asked this last year before he got hurt in the playoffs, Halliburton would be a starter, right?
Yes, that's what I mean. Even if you went back a year ago, you wouldn't see Cade. You'd see Cade on the team.
One thing can change. It's incredible. All right, let me get to this real quick. We don't know what these teams are going to look like just yet, but it's worth having a discussion. If you had to pick which team goes first to worst in the NFL, or which team would go last to first, where would your mind go immediately?
So worst to first, and this is not even bias, it's the Lions.
It's the Lions for sure.
They went 9-8 and finished 4th. I mean, come on. Yeah. It's not that hard of a, just in terms of like if you polled 100 people, Family Feud style, I think the Lions would be your number one answer.
I think that's the obvious one. Who would be the second? It's easy to say the Lions. I said it too. I've got a team that I think could go worst to first, and it's the New Orleans Saints.
Okay. I like that just because of that division. Is that where you're going?
Yes. They won 6 games. Every team in that division, the NFC South, was a minus in point differential. The Carolina Panthers won that division with a minus 69. Put that in perspective real quick, because we like to keep things local. The NFC North, every single team, including the Vikings, were a plus in point differential. The Lions this past year were a plus 68 and finished last. The Panthers last year or a minus 69 and finish first.
So they're almost exact distance away from 0.
Yes.
And like you
So
said,
my
one
guess
finished
would
in
be
last and one won it and got to host a playoff game. That's ridiculous.
The Lions would be the answer. And I think everybody would make that answer. Who would be that second team? For me, it would be New Orleans. I don't see the Giants doing it. I don't see the Raiders or Titans or Browns or Jets. And I don't see Arizona doing it in the NFC West. And this is not a process of elimination. I think the Saints played some decent ball down the stretch. They feel like they got their quarterback in Tyler Shuck, who's a lot more elusive and faster than I remember him being at Louisville. And yes, the division helps. I don't think it's a great division, even though I think Atlanta will be better too. Tampa and Carolina probably take a little bit of a dip. Who would be second for you?
I agree with you on New Orleans. But if I had to pick a different one for the sake of just discussion, how about the Titans? That's another division that I think is sort of up for grabs, and maybe Cam Ward takes a step. Robert Saleh starts doing his thing there. They did bring Mike McDaniel to the staff, right? Or not Mike McDaniel. Who am I thinking of? Who was their big coordinator signing?
Brian Daboll.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. So I think, maybe he steps in and helps Cam Ward make some progress, but I don't see anyone outside Detroit or New Orleans either.
My third would be the Giants. And I know you're looking at the division like Jaden Daniels is going to be healthy. Washington, Dallas puts up a lot of points. They don't stop anybody. Philadelphia has a stranglehold on that division. The Giants' defense is good. Okay, good enough where they're going to improve. John Harbaugh has been a proven winner. They're going to get Malik Neighbors back healthy. And they have a quarterback that most people believe in, which is more than I can say for some of the other teams that were in last place, like the Raiders, for example. So it's a tough division, but I would say the Giants would be third for me. It'd go the Lions, then the Saints, then the Giants. All right. Give me the team that went first or could go first to last. For me, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't see how. I don't think Seattle. I don't think that's going to happen to Seattle. Most people would say Carolina because of that division. Chicago, not with what they have. I think they have too much talent to go to last. I think Detroit will be, depending on what they do in free agency and the draft, will be a challenger for the division lead. I could maybe see Philadelphia eventually catching up to it, but I think Pittsburgh was the second worst division winner in football. When you have Baltimore responding, perhaps Cincinnati, I could see Pittsburgh tying Cleveland for the worst record in the AFC North. How about you?
Again, maybe low-hanging fruit, but NFC South, because it's just such a crapshoot. I could see the Panthers maybe even having a very similar season as this one. It's just they actually have a relatively respectable division winner in the NFC South, someone that wins 10, 11 games. The Panthers win 7 or 8 and finish last. I could see that happening.
Mm-hmm. I saw something yesterday. Somebody asked ChatGPT, look, AI's everywhere. Okay. This is what it's all about.
Just that's the Super Bowl commercials. It's like every other one was AI.
Was it? Every other one, you think?
Yeah.
I see.
Not literally, but lots of AI
people can recognize that a lot easier than I think some of the older folks. But ChatGPT predicts next year's playoffs. The 1 seed in the AFC is Kansas City. The 2 is the Ravens. 3 is Houston. 4 is Buffalo. 5 is Cincinnati. 6 is Miami. 7 is the Chargers.
Miami?
Yeah. Yeah, they got Miami.
That's the stumper for me. I don't see that, but
in the NFC, they have the Lions as the 1. They have San Francisco as the 2, Philly as the 3, Atlanta as the 4, Green Bay as the 5, Dallas the 6, Seattle the 7.
That seems more realistic. Not in just the team's pick, but the order.
Well, what's interesting about that is obviously Atlanta wins that division.
Mm-hmm.
They have Dallas and Philly making the playoffs. San Francisco and Seattle, there's no Rams there. And the Rams, if, played in the NFC Championship game this past year.
Maybe ChatGPT thinks Stafford's retiring.
That could be.
Maybe that's their thought.
course, they also picked Miami. So there you go. You notice they don't have Denver in there.
Yeah.
And Denver was the 1 seed. They don't have New England in there. New England went to the Super Bowl. We'll explain in a minute. ChatGPT has the Lions beating San Francisco and Kansas City beating Baltimore for the Super Bowl.
So Chiefs-Lions. A matchup that a lot of people have been picking going back 3 seasons now.
And what do they have? They have the Chiefs winning it all. For what that's worth. And probably not worth a whole lot. Now, here's another thing. NFL football put this out. They went by tiers. In other words, the tiers that are wide open, the tiers whose window is closing, the tiers of windows whose is closed, those who are not close, and those who are in permanent hell is what they call it. Permanent hell is the Jets, the Giants, the Dolphins, the Browns, and the Falcons. Don't think I'd go that far. Every team ranked based on their Super Bowl window, okay? I wouldn't go that far. I think the Giants' window is open, and I don't think Atlanta's is closed either with some of the really good Drake London, Bijan Robinson. They've got, James Pierce doesn't help his situation, but overall, I think they've got some good young talent. Not close. They've got Carolina. I would agree with that. New Orleans, the Raiders, Titans, Colts, and Cardinals. Agree with all that. I would say the Cardinals are in permanent hell. I think they're in deep trouble. The window closed. You ready? Washington, Dallas, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh. I find that strange, considering Washington has a good young quarterback who's going to be there for a long time, and Minnesota has a really good defense. And I mean a really good defense and a really good coach. So that's a little odd to me. So I have 2 categories left open. One is the open window, and one is the closing window. Where do you think they put the Lions?
Closing.
Correct. Closing window. Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, Tampa, Chargers, Rams, Eagles, Texans, Lions. The interesting thing is the wide open is New England, who's going to have the toughest schedule in football next year. San Francisco, Seattle, Green Bay, Jacksonville, Denver, Cincinnati, and Chicago.
Yeah, Cincinnati doesn't make sense to me there. But I get the logic that, like, those teams are wide open given, I mean, we've got teams in the closing section, meaning it's still, the window is still open, but it's closing, that missed the playoffs last year. So if they're going to put teams like Chicago and New England who are on the up and up, and it was really their first year with this core making a run, if they're going to put them in wide open, who's to say next year they could still have their window open? It just might not be open as wide.
Yeah, I think it's.
I think that's what they're thinking there, but I could be wrong.
Probably. No, they're probably thinking that. I just think it's kind of ridiculous.
A little over the top. I agree.
Yeah, I don't know how you put Cincinnati in that it's wide open. To me, that makes no sense. Just make absolutely no sense.
Me either.
Maybe it's because of Joe Burrow, but if you're going to use that logic, as good a year as Jared Goff has had the last 2.5 seasons, 3 seasons, then he should be definitely in there. Maybe it's an age thing, but Burrow gets hurt. He's been hurt on a regular basis. Well, maybe not regularly. That's not fair. Maybe ChatGPT doesn't know that Patrick Mahomes is out for a while. So a little crazy when it comes to that prediction too. Let's get to the final results of the poll question, shall we? And then the daily wager. The final results of the poll question of the question we asked you yesterday. Other than hockey, what sport in the Olympics are you watching most? Curling, figure skating, skiing, or other? What did people say?
So this is a little surprising until you actually think about it. Curling wins at 57%. And the reason I say that's not so surprising is it's so unique and you never get a chance to watch it. And people like to poke fun at it and stuff, but I think it is entertaining for the average person. I do.
I also think it's
fascinating.
on all the time. It seems like it's on all the time. How many curling champions are there?
Oh, throughout the Olympics, you're saying? Yeah, it has been on like for nonstop. Yeah, it does seem like that.
Doesn't it seem like? I mean, I thought it was a big deal when Team USA won the gold, and I thought, oh, curling's over. Now you see there's 2 women curling against 2 women. There's a guy and a girl curling against a guy and a girl. There's teams of guys. There's teams of women. There's teams. It's on and on and on. I'm like,
it's been on forever. You're right.
When are you winning this thing? Anyway, so it's curling number 1. What was number 2?
Skiing got number 2 at 21%.
Okay.
Other actually got 12%. I'd like to hear what some of those are, but figure skating only got 10%. You know what? Cool. You know what I've enjoyed, Shep, is the biathlon. You ever watch that?
Yes.
That is so cool to me. 2 things you'd never put together: skiing and shooting. But
I know.
Then you factor in the penalty laps and the relays and all this stuff. That's just cool to me.
Yeah, it is. But it does take an education to try and follow it a little bit more if you're willing to, take the time to learn.
And that's where I have so much respect for the announcers that are, helping talk you through this, because they're literally having to explain every little thing that's going on, because they know the average viewer on NBC has no idea what the hell's going on with the biathlon.
You have to talk about it on a regular basis, almost explain it constantly. Let's get to the daily wager. How'd you do last night, and what do you got for us tonight?
Well, I took the under 156.5 for Michigan and Purdue, and I'll tell you what, I was pleasantly surprised with being wrong there, because that was a treat to watch. Again, I root against Michigan, of course. Everyone knows that. But they're a very fun basketball team to watch. They're very fluid on offense. I just thought there'd be more intensity on defense in that game on both ends, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, it was a high-scoring game. 91-80 final. That goes over 156.5, so loser.
What do you got for this tonight?
I've got to take USA versus Sweden. I'll take them on the puck line -1.5. So they could still win by a goal, and I would lose my bet. But I'll put the money where the mouth is.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a good game. I can't wait. 3:00 they play. The women play at 1:00 in the gold medal game against Canada. Greg Wyshynski, a senior NHL writer at ESPN, is going to join us tomorrow, 8:35. Really excited for that, to talk about the Olympics, women's hockey, and a whole lot more, especially the second half push. Hopefully the Red Wings are part of it, because they're playing in Ottawa tomorrow. Our thanks to Tim Hardaway Sr., but most of all to you for giving us some of your time on a Wednesday morning. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Don't forget the huge show later on today. Have a great Wednesday, everybody.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those